Sidra Bell Dance New York will begin their second week of performances on Thursday, May 15th and run through Sunday, May 18th. And the first week of performances, she premiered a new work called Kingdom. Now the second week, is this a revival?
It's also a new work. It's a New York City premiere. Both were premieres for New York.
And this work is called Garment.
Garment. Mm-hmm.
Now what I want to talk to you, whenever I talk to people about you, I always say it's the world according to Sidra Bell.
That's great.
Well, it really is. And I'll tell you why I say that. You have, if we would put 5 pieces on the program, I'd know yours. Right away. You have you blur gender. It's a almost comedic kind of dark quality that you use to literally tell abstract narratives. And I think that's and then in the same sense, underneath all that is a strong technical base that you disguise so well.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been, I value technique, and that's where I came from. Going to the Dance Theater Harlem and the LA school, I always had this integration of so many different seminal techniques in me, and I had the best teachers. So for me, integrating all of those elements was natural. I value dancers that have that strong base, but then they can break away from it. So there's the technical foundation, but then there's a real exploration of those tools, and there's acting, there's improvisation. So all of that gets integrated, but the dancers definitely have to have that baseline, strong integration of being able to use their limbs freely from the core. You know, I see them all as really grounded technicians. So that's been since growing up. I was exposed to that, and I kept that with me. And something I value as a teacher now. Also, I try to encourage that kind of attention and detail to the body. So it's not just steps; it's a real grounded quality.
Now, you know, when I saw your work, the first time I really saw your work, and the first time I got to interview you, which was my pleasure,
Thank you.
was with Ailey too. That work was much more movement oriented. And what I really like about what you do is you can go and do something that is pure movement or more movement based. But what you like to do, I think, with your own company is much more theatrical.
Yes. I think when I do commissions, there's a meeting ground, and I think most people commission me because they do enjoy the movement. The vocabulary itself is interesting. And with other companies, I think it's really fun to go towards them and encourage them to try out different ways of getting to that technical virtuosity. So with ALA too, we did a lot of improvisation in that process, but then it led to the piece, which was a lot of partnering and articulation of the hands, but there was not necessarily a story. I think it had a theatricality, but more of a tone rather than like a driving narrative. With the company, my company, it's such a small group, and I've had the dancers for many years that we naturally, I know them as individuals, I know their histories, I know their desires, I know them, we're like a family, so that naturally encourages a more intimate, theatrical, they can really dig under the surface of who they are and bring that to the stage. So that's been really an interesting contrast between, say, commissioned work and the work that we do, which is why I call us a boutique company, is that it really is about the people. So for me, they're like muses. Each dancer, I look at them like I would look at an actress or an actor on film. They inspire, their faces, their quirkiness, all those things are available to me on a more consistent basis. I've done other works with companies, other companies that have gone in a more theatrical vein, but it really depends on how far we can go within like a 2 to 3 week process. So it varies. I've done works on point. I've done works on break dancers. I can go all the way around the map. And that's what's really fun about having a company, and then also being able to travel around and see and infiltrate other cultures and communities of dancers. It's a gift.
No, it really is. And then, the last time I saw you, in fact, we're at Baruch now. The performances are going to be at Baruch College. And we're in the theater right now, and the background noise you hear is they're tearing down one theater set, putting up another for you.
There was a lot to tear down from the first one as well. It was a lot of decor, actually, and this one's a little more blank.
But what I always find interesting, you do find a way not only to integrate pure movement, but fashion, film, spoken word. You take it to, it's very environmental.
I think for me, the stage act is not only a place to make a spectacle, but also to integrate the environment. So in a theater like this, which is very much in the round, I would say, and it has a open.
Yes, it is, isn't it?
It's very open, so it invites spectatorship. It invites other viewing points. It's great to film in here. With fashion, that I'm very subdued as a person, actually, and my own sort of the way that I frame myself and mannerisms. But I think fashion is a really interesting way of creating another visual world.
But that's what I find so interesting. When I talk to you, the first time you were, now you did have great boots on. Okay, I have to
Today
give you that.
I'm in tech mode now.
But you had great boots on, and you would sit there, and you sat there. You could have had pearls. And we had this very straightforward, very intellectual, heady conversation. And then I see this work, and I said, "My God!"
I have extreme tastes. I mean, I'm influenced, so on influence, which is actually what Garment is really about. On the idea of influential. Because people have often noted that aspect of the work, and I wanted to really speak directly to that, garments, and not only the garments that we wear, but skin, how we frame ourselves. So garment to me is deeper than clothing. It's really what we are, how we shift, how we, our affectations. Garment is a much more, I think, stronger word than clothing, because there's sort of an authenticity, the garment district. I really wanted to refer to that in this piece, and if you see it, it really does it has some tongue-in-cheek moments, and then there are some moments where it's a little more emotional, but all sort of thinking about identification, self-identification, and how that can get done through clothing. So that's been really interesting to speak directly to it, because I think in the past, I've always loved designing the stage, the visual world through clothing, but I haven't really spoken about why, and this piece really does, I think, say something about why that's important or not important. But for me, the audience definitely responds to the elements on stage, the lighting, the colors, it really does influence how we feel. I've always been really tactile and observant, and to me, color makes me feel a certain way, music makes me feel a certain, everything is stimulating me. So it feels natural to make those things very clear on stage, and not in very extravagant ways either. It's subtle details. I'm very detail oriented.
I saw work that you did, and this is what I found very interesting. You were telling a story about a relationship you had that you said wasn't healthy. And it was something like, and it was in the duet, and it was a duet between two men. And it was like drowning, you said.
Oh yeah, pool. Yeah, that was a very special process. The duet, which is the end of that piece, the two characters, it feels like they're overwhelming each other constantly, which to me was reminiscent of the feeling of drowning, which I've had in relationships before. What was beautiful about that particular duet is I feel like it was inspired by the dancers, but then it was also about me. And I think that's what's great about working with the collaborative aspect of dance, is that you're making work on other people, but then it's reflective. It's like a mirror to you. And a lot of my pieces, I'm in there, like even if they're really extravagant in a way, they seem like fantasy, I'm always in there as a subtext, like my personal thoughts, now more and more of my philosophies, my ideologies, my belief systems, my questions about those things, my doubts, all of that's in the work, and I put it in there, put it out there. So when people say, why aren't you on stage? I'm like, yes I am, I'm there. You know everything about me.
If you really look.
If you really look, yeah, there's no hiding in the pieces, and that's what's kept, I think, my career. I'm still young, but I've done a lot of work over the time I've been making choreography, and I feel like it's been like sort of a little map of my growing up, like young adult to now, kind of what that process was like. And now I'm just sort of in my 30s, feeling more myself than ever, so that these two pieces in this season are very reflective of that. Like they're very, they're very themselves.
This is what I want to ask you on that note, because when you're a neophyte, there's one way you approach dance and movement and energy, and then once you have an understanding of not only who you are but how you like to work, it changes your whole perspective. How have you seen that in your own work? Because you're still very young.
Yeah. No, I feel much more clear. I think, I started choreographing later. I started like to age 22, and before that, I was making solos. And, I just feel much more in my skin. I feel like a better dancer, even than when I was really training to be a performer, in that there's nothing that I won't try now. I'm less self-conscious about the kinds of movements I do, or the kinds of movements I even want to try, from social dance to ballet to partnering to standing on my head. I do that in the process with making dances and also with teaching. I just feel much more alive, actually, as a dancer. And often I think, well, should I be performing? And I'm like, no, I feel happy in what I'm doing. I really do. There's just a new awareness or a new freedom that I've found as I've kept going and kept exploring. And I'm much more plain about what I say on stage, too. I'm not afraid. So that's been really great to feel, because I was, being shy, even when I was training, there was a level of reserve and a wall, but now I feel like I've broken those things. And so it'd be interesting to perform maybe at this age, I don't know. But I'm really happy in what I'm doing, actually. I feel like I am performing, and I feel very alive in my body. I love dancing and making movement. It's really very fulfilling. In addition to dancing, I love being able to flex all the muscles of a producer, putting on the show, engaging with the designers and all my collaborators. I feel powerful. So that's, it's a good thing. Yeah.
How are we doing time-wise? Is it still rolling?
I just rolled. It's 2 minutes and.
It's 2 minutes in?
Yeah, I started again.
Oh, good. When did you start it again?
You're talking and I'm recording you talk.
You just stopped it?
No.
Okay. Well, I'll find that place and cut it. Thank you. Okay.
Is the volume good? Am I?
Yeah.
Okay.
Perfect.
We're right there. Now, one other thing I wanted to talk to you about is because you had mentioned prior to the interview that you enjoyed the process as much as you enjoyed the performance.
Yeah. Again, I feel very connected to the movement aspect of what I do. So while the works can be very far-flung, very theatrical, bordering on spectacle and comedy, it really always starts with a phrase. And that's what always, I think, surprises people. They're like, how did you get so much going on in the space? And where did all that come from? It's always with my body. It starts with my body, and then the dancers learn it, and then they take it apart, they start deconstructing it, they do tasks. We basically do, so if it was a cell, we build on it and we start reproducing in different ways. You know, put it on that wall, put it on the floor, jump it. Sometimes it'll be just improvisation where I'm giving them like image work. In Garment, actually, there was a whole hour. We were in Pittsburgh in residency, and I kept talking them through this image work. Could I repeat it today? No, it was like a stream of consciousness thing where they were like, it was all about you'll be remembered, you'll be memorialized, and they had to sort of move from that space of power and influence. So it goes all over the map. This company, I'm so proud of how daring they are. This particular group, I've had them for a while. They are brilliant, you know, in the meta space, and they are always willing to mentally play with me. So they do the movement, but it's beyond that. It's this relationship where they can really go and extrapolate the movement beyond just the steps. And that's the beauty of having a company. You get so tight that there's nothing they won't try, and physically or emotionally. It's very, again, fulfilling to have that access to people. Sometimes it even feels like I leave them alone before a show because they get very in their own space, and I don't want to interrupt that. Yeah. So there are a lot of ways we get at the movement, but I value complexity. I want the audience to always be surprised within a phrase, so it's always changing directions and dropping, and you know it has all these points. And I'm very inspired back to influence by the choreographers that I admire that do that have a high degree of complexity, from the skeletal body to the cerebral body to the heart. You know, I think there are multiple bodies that we inhabit, and I like exploring that. The emotional body. There's so many bodies. I mean, we're so layered as people.
So I want to thank you for taking the time out.
Thank you.
And we look forward to seeing you May 15th through 18th at Baruch. What's it, Baruch College? What's it called? Baruch Center?
Baruch Performing Arts Center at Baruch College.
Yes, Baruch Performing Arts Center at Baruch College.
Yes, Nagelberg Theater.
Thank you again.
Thank you. Always great talking to you.